The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. For tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Bide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron on the Para X Radio Network. And now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Merry meet, everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Tonight's show is going to be a little bit different than the usual. We've got 4 guests, 2 of which are very much alive, and that would be channelers Barry and Connie Strohm, and the other 2 were once very much alive, but they will be joining us from the other side. And since Christmas is creeping up on us, I thought a visit for a couple of people who are synonymous with Christmas, and that would be author Charles Dickens and actor Jimmy Stewart. As always, questions and comments from those in the chat room are very much welcome. So if you're listening live on this Thursday night and you're already in the chat room, good for you. And if you're not, get over here and join us at paraxradionetwork.com. It's not very often that you get to ask questions to those on the other side. So here's a quick bio of them.
Charles Dickens was born February 7, 1812 in Portsmouth, Hampshire, England, and died June the 9th, 1870 in Gad's Hill near Chatham, Kent. He was an English novelist, generally considered one of the greatest of the Victorian era. His many volumes include such works as David Copperfield, Bleak House, A Tale of Two Cities, Great Expectations, and A Christmas Carol. Jimmy Stewart was an actor, military advisor, and poet. His film career spanned 80 films from 1935 to 1991. He won an Academy Award for his performance in The Philadelphia Story in 1940, and in 1947, he was nominated for an Oscar as Best Actor in It's a Wonderful Life, the movie which is a classic shown this time of year.
All right, so we're ready to go. Barry, Connie, season's greetings.
Season's greetings and Merry Christmas.
Thank you so much for asking us to come. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you. Well, you know, it is the season, and we're having a double hitter tonight.
Mm-hmm.
I thought about Charles Dickens and Jimmy Stewart because both had A Christmas Carol and A Wonderful Life, have things in both Ebenezer Scrooge and George Bailey initially react with skepticism about their spirit's guide, and the encounters with them were not, well, they were unsettling, actually, right out from the beginning. So, you know, and both stories focused on the lives of their protagonists and how their lives had ramifications outside of what they immediately see. So it's a fact that they have something to do, both of them, with supernatural beings. And so, you know, there is a little hook there between the two of them. So let's get started, and we'll do it Charles Dickens first. And Laura, hello. I forgot Laura. I didn't forget her, but I mean, you know, here we go. So
Okay.
We'll have Charles Dickens. Oh, my God. We're ready to go. I'm not. But
So how's that bourbon working for you in California?
not good at all. I better switch to something else. Jeez.
Okay, so you are planning on speaking with Mr. Dickens, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He is standing here as we talk, so you're on the air.
All right. Well, Mr. Dickens, thank you for joining us this evening. We have a really good chat room that will probably have some questions for you. And I've got a couple to start. So thank you for coming.
It is a pleasure. We do not get a chance to talk much when we're on this side. And I always did enjoy talking to people, so it is truly amazing that people remember me for Christmas, because I must admit during my life I did not have much to do with Christmas, but I thought it was something interesting to write about. So anyway, it is a pleasure to be here. It has been the first time since I passed that I've been able to talk to humans.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Okay, so let me ask the first question. Is it true that you wrote the book of because of a financial worry?
I always had financial worries. I wasn't really that successful writing. It was a very difficult time to make money as a writer. So yes, my entire life was pivoted around financial worries.
Yeah, I can imagine how writing a book back then, 182 years ago, is different than we do it down here. It's easier, I think. But when you were writing A Christmas Carol, did you have an inkling that the book might be a classic and still popular almost 200 years in the future?
Absolutely not. It was the last thing that ever occurred to me. I had hoped to make, a few shekels off of it, but it never dawned on me that people would accept it in such a great manner. And really, they didn't do that much with it during my lifetime. Yes, there were people that bought the book and listened to it. But keep in mind, in those days, there was no money to be made with movies and TV, and even now with your podcast. All we had were book sales. And if people wanted to buy your book, you could make a little bit of money. But the publishers took most of the money, just as they do now. So it was a difficult time. And you had to have other work in order to make a living.
So how were you paid in publishing in those days? Did they buy it outright, or did you get residual kind of things? How did that work?
I had a residual deal. It wasn't that much. It was the percentage was quite low. And they really had all the expenses. Keep in mind that printing a book in those days was a very expensive process. Each page had to be printed by hand, and it was just automation was just slowly beginning to take its place. So it was a difficult process and an expensive process. So you never expected to make a whole lot of money writing books unless you were incredibly successful. And before Christmas Carol, I was not that successful.
Well, after that, you were doing quite well with all the other books you've written. So that, it probably was a good thing that you started, huh?
Well, you had to make money by having a lot of books. So you had to be quite prolific. It would be very rare if you would have just one single book that would be successful. But yes, after Christmas Carol, people did start to learn who I was, and things did get much.
Somebody in the chat room wants to know, who was the inspiration for the character of Scrooge?
I was somewhat psychic, and I would have dreams. And I guess most good authors have dreams, and it'd be very rare for all the ideas that an author has to come to you without having some help. I had worked part-time for a newspaper, and there was an individual in that newspaper that reminded me very much of the character that became Scrooge. He was really quite an, almost said a-hole, but I didn't say it. But he was very much like what Scrooge became in the Christmas Carol.
Okay, because we have a question that's pretty much the same. She wanted to know how you developed the characters, especially Tiny Tim and Scrooge. Were they typical citizens around there too?
There were many people that would fulfill the look of Tiny Tim. It was almost a natural family structure in those days. Keep in mind that it was incredibly difficult times. There was sickness. It was very hard to make a living. There were rich people, as there are now, and they took advantage of the poor. And the character of Tiny Tim came to me through time. It wasn't like I just sat down and wrote the book. It took me quite a while in order to put all the character thoughts together, the different plots, and really what I wanted to try to accomplish with the book.
Was here I'm scribbling my words again. I mean my writing again. Well, and the words too, I guess. How did you come to name the book A Christmas Carol?
I wanted to name it something that everybody could associate with. Christmas was a very big deal in my time. Keep in mind that the religious institutions were very strong. And even though you were very poor, you could still celebrate Christmas. You could go to the masses. You could go to the different churches. And it was a time that poor people would be accepted by people of wealth. So A Christmas Carol, in those days, people would get together in groups and they would go from house to house and sing Christmas carols. And it was a widely accepted way of celebrating the holiday, and people loved participating in it. So everybody liked Christmas, everybody liked carols, so it seemed like a natural mix for the name of a book.
Okay. Another chat room question. Do you think that the message of this book would translate in these times?
Yes, it still does. When the book was made into a movie, it was very difficult times that your country was in. And as I watch from over here, I can see that it's very difficult times that your country is in now. People turn to, I think, simplicity in times of turmoil. And Lord knows it certainly classifies as a time of turmoil now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And another question is coming in. It says, your stories are written at the time of the English Industrial Revolution. What were the common stories of child labor about that time?
It was very common. It was very, as I said earlier, it was very, very hard to make a living. And the families had to do all that they could. The industrialists were not paying great wages, and it was simply expected that children would go to work. Children were very small, and in those early days of mechanics and of the equipment of the time, it took much maintenance, and small children would often be the only ones that could get into confined areas to work on some of the equipment. Many, many children were harmed and killed during those days. There was no safety bars on things. There was no organization trying to maintain safety. It was simply what was needed for the equipment. And the young kids, they didn't know any better. If you sent them into an area to work, they didn't realize how dangerous it was. So child labor was a big deal. They worked much cheaper than adults. And sadly, it was just a terrible time for children in employment.
Mm-hmm. Didn't they have a bunch of workhouses then for adults as well? If they couldn't pay where they're living, they put them into the workhouse?
It was a difficult time. You absolutely had to be able to pay your bills, or you would be in greater problems and never be able to pay them. And and that was one reason why people would have large families, so that they would have multiple children that could go out and try to support the family.
Yeah. We think it have bad now here, but it's not quite as bad as it was there.
Well, there are countries where it is equally as bad.
Well, yeah.
China for one. The child labor there is a very huge deal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, got another question. You're very popular tonight. Why past, present, and future rather than just as it was when it was, it's a comment, I think, when it was at a time that you wrote it? I think I got confused. That's what it says, but okay. Dinah, write it again, please. Okay, and in the meantime, with you, did you grow up knowing about things like fairies and angels and things like that?
They were general topics of conversation in my time. People talked about fairies. They were a very big deal, especially in Ireland. The angels, people wanted to see angels. They wanted to think about them. It was a time of religious change, and people were drawing away from simply the thought of just the holy saints and the spirits of God. They wanted to use other objects. Angels were being depicted in artwork of the time, and it just seemed natural that past, present, and future could be blended into one, and I tried to do the best I could.
So you believed in supernatural beings?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I believed that there were angels. I believed that there were fairies. And I believed that God truly existed. And I believed that we all knew we had a past. We hoped we'd have a future. And we all lived in the present. So it was three concepts that everyone could conceive of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I would think that, to create a character and go into the past, the present, and the future, you kind of couldn't do that if you didn't believe that there was such a thing, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, it was very instrumental that you had to have a structure that believed in it. The past, present, and future is always, throughout history, it is something that humans focused upon. Mm-hmm. The psychics of the time were very intent on trying to bring you predictions of the future. There were many fakes, and many people lied about what they were of which they were speaking, and pretended that they had psychic abilities. But there were truly individuals who were gifted and could speak of the future, and sometimes their predictions actually came true. Keep in mind that Notre Dame was famous even in my time and was spoken of as a predictor. Mm-hmm. So the future has always enthralled individuals. They've always wanted to be able to know what was coming. So it was the concept of past, present, and future I thought would do well in a book.
Mm-hmm. And you made it a very good one.
I was very lucky with it, yes.
There's a comment saying that the Scrooge gravestone has stood standing in the graveyard from the Alastair Sims movie, a lasting tribute to your work.
I am still truly amazed that people watch the movie and listen to the storyline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when you think about it, it's 200 years almost, and some people that are writing books here won't know anybody will know him in 5 years, 10 years,
I'm familiar with the concept, trust me. That was me speaking.
got another thing. What do you think of some of the venues that have developed from your book, like comedy, which is the Muppet Carol, Christmas Carol, which is her favorite, musical scores, plays. I know you said you were amazed, but the ramifications are all overboard. It's great.
I think that copying all of it is the greatest tribute to the book. If people do not try to copy something, then it is obviously a failure. I believe that since people have tried to do so many different things about my storyline and about my book, that is truly an indication just what people believe of it. I don't think they do it with animosity. I mean, sometimes humor's a little sick, but I truly look at it as a form of respect from over here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. They're asking, what is your opinion on the movie and TV adaptations of your book? And where do you have you watched them? Have you come down and peeked into TVs and movies to see those adoptions?
Well, one thing from over here, it's not like we have to come down and do all this. And yes, when the movie first came out, I had some doubts about how they portrayed it. But Jimmy did an incredible job of acting, and the movie became famous. So who am I to complain? Without that movie, many people still would not know who I am. And I must say, even over here, we do have some pride and vanity.
Well, that's good, but I don't see how kids growing up would never, just not for that one movie, but in schools, in English classes, we have to read those books, some of them. And so, yeah, I mean, I was going to say you went down in history, but you're still going down in history, and I don't think it'll ever change. That's kind of neat.
I hope so. What can I say?
Just think of all the residuals you'd have got if you were alive today.
That is something I truly think about. I would indeed be a rich person, but sadly, we don't need money over here, and I have riches as it is. So the service that I've done to people, I think, is the greatest riches that I could have.
Yeah. I mean, it's just everybody knows A Christmas Carol, no matter what, in any form, and that's going a long way.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm. What's the term bah humbug have to do with? I mean, where did you get it? Was it a common phrase in Victorian times, or I know what it means. Everybody knows what it means, but where did it come from? Was it very popular to say it when people get, angry or something?
It was a popular term when people did not want to swear. Believe me, there was much swearing and cursing in Victoria times. And there were people that tried not to do it. And it was simply a term that was in use. Just the same as you have many terms that are in use that probably will not be in use 50 years from now.
Mm. Yeah, I use bah a lot, and humbug at this time of season. Another question, and she says it's a deep question. Does every generation have a best of times and the worst of times?
Everything is comparable in time. Every generation has good times, and every generation has bad times. Sometimes the bad times are worse. For instance, world wars were terrible times. But after the wars, people came home and generally thrived and had some of the best of economic times. So it takes both. Human life is supposed to be a challenge. There's supposed to be good times, and there are supposed to be bad times.
Can't get away from that, huh?
No. Sadly, that is the way of things.
Mm-hmm. Another question. How would you write the book, Christmas Carol, differently today if you were to write it?
If I was to write it today, I would try to preserve the storyline. I would preserve the characters, but I would probably modernize them a bit. And I would set it into a more contemporary setting. But I think the great success of the book is the fact that people can look back, see the historical times and how people celebrated in those days, and how human nature was pretty much the same then as it is now.
Yeah. Some things are, everything old is new again in a sense, and things do change, but they all seem to kind of repeat themselves.
The lessons of history are the strongest lessons that people should learn.
Yeah, but do they?
Never, sadly.
Did you ever think of coming back to Earth and do some writing or just coming back in general?
I've considered reincarnating, but as I look to the future, I do not see times that are very appealing for me personally. I may, but keep in mind, when you're on this side, there is no time. So there's no rush. I mean, sometimes it is best to sit back and watch to see how human evolution takes place and determine if you want to participate in it. We all have free will over here, and I'm sure there will be a time that I decide to come back. But I would like to come back in one of the best of times and not one of the worst of times.
Yeah, well, you're acquainted with all of them, but yeah, better the better one. Okay, one more quick question. What gave you the idea of Christmas past, present, and future characterizations of same being so vastly different?
Because people have vast differences through time. There are people that learn. There are people that don't learn. There are people that change, and there are people that don't change. So I thought that I would model my characters after individuals that actually are capable of changing for the better.
And he said he also meant that the ghost of Christmas past is like a happy ghost, and Christmas present is like a big Santa, and Christmas future is the Grim Reaper.
Well, you know what the past is. You think you know what the present is, and you have no idea what the future is. But you do know that times are good and then times are bad. So if we were living in a moderately decent time, so the odds were pretty good that the future would have problems.
When people are coming down to reincarnate, do they know what they're up against?
When they are on the other side, they get a glimpse of the future. And that's how you make your life plan to conform to it. Mm-hmm. But once you come to life, you have absolutely no idea what will take place. And you have no idea what that glimpse of the future was. As a baby, you come in with no knowledge and you have to learn. Mm-hmm. And that is the design of God.
Yeah. So it's like a crapshoot, right? You think you know you're going to get there when you write it out, but once you get there, you're starting from scratch.
Change is continuous.
Yeah. All right. We're pretty much out of time. We're going to take a break in a minute, but thank you very much. It was very enlightening.
Well, thank you so much for allowing me to come through. As I said, this is the first time in several hundred years I've been able to talk to humans, and I must admit I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, let's do it again.
We can.
Yes, we can. You've got a lot of books and all kinds of stuff. So, yeah, we will definitely do that. Get a hold of Barry and, give him a nudge, a poke.
There are a lot of people try to get a hold of Barry because they like to talk.
Well, you just stand in line and whatever. All right. Well, thank you very much. And do you celebrate Christmas up there?
Christmas is every day up here.
Oh.
We celebrate God.
Uh-huh.
every day. So every day is Christmas when you're in heaven.
Well, Garrett, Merry Christmas anyway. I mean, covering the whole thing. And yes, we'll talk again.
Thank you.
Okay. You back, Barry?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay.
Very strong guest. Very good.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to take a break for a couple minutes, and when we come back, we will go on to the next one. All right, everybody sit still, except don't go away too far, and we'll be back very soon.
Don't go away. There's more Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks right after these important messages.
Do you know where the world's most secret bases are located? Do you know what spooky action at a distance means? Is there a conspiracy by aliens to prevent us from conquering space? And where is the best place in the United States to see a real UFO? Find the answers to all these questions and more in Mac Maloney's new book, Mac Maloney's Haunted Universe. Visit places you never knew existed, the Hampton Tunnels of Tokyo, the UFO Trail in South America, Ong's Hat, and the very mysterious M Triangle. Mac Maloney Haunted Universe contains hundreds of reports on ghosts, haunted planes and ships, weird celebrity deaths, mysterious sounds, and a breakdown of every monster in America, state by state. You've heard him talk about it on the radio. Now get all of Mac's paranormal research in one large volume. Mac Maloney's Haunted Universe, with a foreword by the very famous Juan Juan. On sale now in your local bookstore or on Amazon.com.
Hi, this is Marla Brooks from Stirring the Cauldron. One of the best gifts that you can give yourself or to someone else on your Christmas list this holiday season is the gift of insight. And if your crystal ball is a bit murky, think about giving them or yourself a personalized yearly Witch's Oracle deck reading. This comprehensive reading gives you a heads up on what the universe has in store for you in the coming year, and the month-to-month guide offers you a chance to make necessary changes if need be before situations get out of hand, or give you a hint of something really good to look forward to. So if you want to treat yourself or someone else, pop over to marlabrooks.com, click on the More tab on the homepage menu, and then click on Readings to find out more. And have a very happy holiday season, and blessed be.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para X. Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And my guests are Barry and Connie Strohm, and we're talking about Charles Dickens. We're talking with Charles Dickens, and Jimmy Stewart should be coming up next. And we'll be talking about his wonderful movie, It's a Wonderful World. So, Barry, you're about ready?
I am.
Okay, you're doing double duty tonight. That's a good thing. Well, for us anyway. All right, so bring him in.
Okay.
Jimmy, are you there?
Yes, we can. He is here and he is waiting, and he's wondering at the silence as well.
No, go ahead. Just we're live.
Well, would you like him to say something first, or you want to ask questions, or?
Hello would good. Yeah, that would be that'd be a good start.
Here's Jimmy.
Okay.
Well, I see that snafus still take place on the air. I know that we used to have problems too. And it's good to hear that people still mess up when they're trying to not have any dead air on the air. So I'd like to thank you for allowing me to speak as well. I've been with Barry and Connie before, and we've discussed many different things, but I must admit we never discussed my role in A Christmas Carol. So I appreciate the opportunity, and here we are.
We're doing his It's a Wonderful Life. That's the one.
Mm-hmm.
And, it initially, I was reading, received mixed reviews and very not successful at the box office when it came up. And now It's considered to be one of the greatest films of all time and one of the best Christmas films. It's been recognized by the American Film Institute as one of the 100 best American films ever made. So did you think when you were finding out that it wasn't so box office successful that it was going to turn around 100 degrees and just go off the charts?
No, we thought we had a failure on our hands. We had discussed at length whether we should do the movie. And I was very unsure about taking the part. I thought that it was a weak script at the time, and I just didn't think it was what the people were willing to accept in that day and age. I went ahead. I enjoyed making it. I mean, we had a wonderful time with the cast. As we made it, I thought the storyline was better than I gave it credit for. We had good production. Everything seemed to go well, and then we had the rollout of the film, and nobody seemed to like it. In the beginning, people were not coming to see it. The critics were coming out against it. They thought they were talking about my acting in it. They were talking about the plot. And in the beginning, it was very dark. We thought we had a failure on our hands.
Well, see, this turned around really nicely. And I think you were up for the nomination for an Academy Award for your place in Wonderful Life, and you didn't make it, but you know, it's good to be nominated anyway.
Yes, it was great. It came as a complete shock when things started to turn around. The studio was putting money into publicity, and it was drawing people into the theaters. And it was a time where people wanted to just simply feel good. There wasn't a whole lot going on around them to feel good about. And Christmas was something everybody wanted to enjoy in those days. It was a time that people truly did celebrate in the way that God wanted them to do. It was a time when people did turn to family. And it was wonderful for people to understand the concept of change, of repentance, of doing things that God wants you to do. And I guess everything just kind of clicked, and I was overjoyed when I got a nomination for it. I would have liked to have won, but nominations are great things. People remember that sometimes more than they remember the person that got the award. But it was an amazing turnaround. But I want you to think of it this way. God is capable of many things, and all things happen in how he would like things to happen. It was a good plot. It was a godly plot. It was a family movie. And I think the angels and the spirits got behind it. And when the guides, angels, spirits, and especially God get behind something, it's going to be a success.
Mm-hmm. In the movie Harvey, you had a puka, which was a 6-foot invisible rabbit, as your best friend. And in A Wonderful World, you had an angel named Clarence who kept you from killing yourself. Did you believe in angels or other supernatural beings in real life?
Yes. I saw enough death. I saw enough violence. And I understood totally that there were angelic beings and energies, that there were God energies, and that there were many things that we don't understand taking place around us. And I had absolutely no problem knowing that I had an angel. And especially the part of the plot about suicide.
Yeah.
Suicide is something that God absolutely does not want you to do. And suicide will help end your life plan before many of the lessons are learned. So it is not uncommon that angels do intercede every day with people that are contemplating suicide. They're trying to stop them. quite often they can't do it, but suicide is something that should never be considered. And it was a very, very important part of the movie. And I think it was probably that part of the movie that may have clicked the most with the angels and the spirits on the other side.
Mm-hmm. And it was kind of something like Ebenezer Scrooge in the other movie that Clarence taught him or took him to see what happened in the town if he was never there, never born. So it's kind of like the same thing that, two movies that are how many years apart and not quite the same, but they all have the same meaning at the end.
There are actually were some very good movies that were made through the years. And the movies, it seems as though the movies that have, shall we say, a God plot, a story of good, a story of transition to good, many of those movies are the ones that are remembered through time. And I was just very, very lucky to be able to participate in one. And I am still truly amazed that people show the movie and enjoy it the same every year. It is, I guess the only way to say it, even though I was involved in it, it's a wonderful movie.
And it's a wonderful life. Yes, exactly.
I was going to say that, but I thought it was a little corny.
Oh, well, I picked it up for you. It's all right. I do corny stuff too. Yeah. Of all the movies, somebody's asking, if all the movies that you've made, do you have a favorite?
I believe it's probably that. I certainly it is certainly the most successful movie I've ever been in. I enjoyed doing many of the movies. When I came back from the war, I kind of thought my whole career was over, but there were still many things. Strategic Air Command was an important movie for me. I think it told the people a lot about what was taking place in the Cold War at the time and how many people were sacrificing for the good of the country. There are still many people, good people, that sacrifice for the country every day. The individuals in the armed forces are incredible patriots. There are many out there that are doing things of which you will never, ever learn of. But the armed forces is the foundation that keeps everyone safe. And I was very lucky not to have been killed during the war, World War II. And God saw fit that he would preserve my career and advance it when I returned. Mm-hmm. When you do good things, quite often you are rewarded with good things.
At your house, did you have always a beautiful Christmas? I mean, with trees and, some people go overboard and some people just, not do that. What was the family like in your house?
We had rather modest Christmases. We understood just truly what Christmas was about. We had presents, and as I grew wealthier, our presents grew in quality and money value. But we tried to respect life, and we tried to respect all of those that were not in as great a position as we were. I tried to do a lot of charity through the years, and I tried to help others. And when I returned, I was rewarded for it. And I would suggest that people try to do as much good in their lives as they can, because they must understand their lives are very short. And when that final day comes, they should have no regrets.
You think people cannot go away with not talking about or at least understanding that there's a lot of things that they do wrong?
Everyone is expected to do things wrong. It's how you react to what you do wrong and repair it by doing right. Everyone in their youth does things that are stupid, that are wrong. The important thing is that you learn and that you create goodness in your life and how you treat others. If you do that, then the wrongs are forgotten in your early lives. It's the way people learn. If you don't make mistakes, you don't learn from your mistakes. And I've known many people that made major mistakes that turned out to be very good people because they learned and truly changed their lives from that time.
Mm-hmm.
So life is a time of learning, just the same as making movies. In my day was a method of trying to give people foundations of learning and understanding. A Wonderful Life was that. Many people have been helped by that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Many lives have been saved by it.
Yes.
What more can you ask as an actor than to have participated in something that has done so much good and is still doing so much good for people?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And every time a bell rings, somebody gets their wings, the fairy wings. So, all right. Another question came in. Of these four Hitchcock movies you did, Rope, Rear Window, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and Vertigo, did you have a favorite one of those?
I think it was A Man Who Knew Too Much, because that has had a message in it as well. There are many people in life that think they know it all, and they find out that they really don't. I know that what goes on in the heavenly realm far exceeds anything that anyone can comprehend in life. The more that you learn in life, hopefully you understand how much you really don't know. There are many people that think they know it all, and there's always karma that is involved with that.
Yeah, we learned that the hard way too.
Many people learn things the hard way. I had to learn many things the hard way.
I think that's the only way we do learn. If it was something simple, we wouldn't pay attention, really.
When life is easy, there are few lessons learned.
Mm-hmm. And somebody in the chat room says they're grateful that I can still learn. Yeah. And I always say if you people don't want to learn anything anymore, don't dig a hole. Dig a hole and jump in, because we can never stop learning. That's so important.
The day of your greatest learning will be the day that you pass from this earth.
That's where we're going to find out what we did wrong and right and all that kind of stuff, huh?
That's when you find out the grandeurs of heaven that you will enter into, and all of the miracles that surround all of you that you never realized.
Yeah, it's a shame that we can't learn it when we're doing it, when we're, down here. But I guess we save it for the next time to come down, but then we don't know again. We come, like we were just talking about, we come back with, nothing to know yet. We have to learn it.
Indeed. And that, I think, is one of the major messages of A Wonderful Life, is you have to learn what you don't know. And it's what you don't know that creates the future of what you do know.
Mm. What about today's movies? Do you think that they are going over the top with all things that wouldn't have been done, 20 years ago or 30 years ago?
The technologies today are absolutely mind-blowing. They can do things beyond comprehension, anything that we ever thought about in my day. But the sad thing is that they're using these technologies to make movies that limited audiences are interested in. A Wonderful Life appeals to people of all ages, and it was not done with any of the spectacular abilities that they have today.
Yeah.
Today you see them using technologies to appeal to simply one age group. Generally, it's the younger group now. And many of the older people are feeling left behind by the movies that are being made today. And that is why you're seeing attendance at the movies decreasing in spite of all the wonderful technologies that they have. It's one of these days they will learn how to use the technologies to make movies that appeal to everyone. What you're seeing today is people drawing away from the movies. People go to the movies to find relaxation. If they are sitting in an environment where they cannot relax, but they're continuously being attacked by technologies, then there's no good reason for going to the movies. And that is why attendance is down. The new technologies could be used for good. They could be used for people to help learn about helping others, about doing good things. Perhaps they'll use the technologies to redo a wonderful life. There's a lot that they could do with modern technology. But sadly, they decide not to do it.
Yeah, I'm a purist, and I don't like sequels sometimes. Some of them are okay, but some of them, you just can't change a classic, you know? So that's my 2 cents. But we've got another question from the chat room. Do you think that It's a Wonderful Life helped those World War II veterans with PTSD?
Absolutely. It helped some. There are many that World War II was incredibly violent. I cannot tell you how it affected individuals. I cannot tell you how it affected me. I had PTSD from it as well. Mm-hmm. But the violence of today's warfare is incredible. The explosives are so violent. The Second World War was horrible. The First World War was horrible. If we are ever involved in another world war, the violence is going to be incredibly bad. There will be no limit to how many people will lose their lives. Mm-hmm. I tried to do my best to help the other veterans. In my day, they called shell shock. And I saw individuals who were incapable of functioning because of what they saw. It is almost impossible to put that type of violence out of your mind after it has taken place. I tried to do the best I could with the movies that I made. I did not want to bring back movies where individuals would see events taking place that would remind them of the terrible violence through which they had lived. Today, there's literally no conscience. Children today play games of violence and they go out and create violence and think it's part of the game. Times are so very different from when I lived. I think I might consider returning at some point, but I believe that I'm going to continue just to watch to see how well my movies do from over here for the time being.
They're doing really well. Just playing all the time. We've got just a couple of more minutes, so I want to, first of all, thank you for your service when you were there. My dad was in World War II also. And we have to get going, and maybe we can do this another sometime about other things, if you'd like.
I would love to. I always enjoy the opportunity to talk. As I say, I've been with Barry and Connie several times before, and it's always been an enjoyable experience. He has the ability to speak my words, and it is absolutely a miracle that I can speak and actually still get my thoughts through to people. And It's an honor, and I thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Well, thank you for being here. Very much appreciate it. And I think we're going to have to go. So come back, Barry.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just trying to
Trying to unwind it.
I'm trying to unwind a bit because
Okay. In 2 minutes is all we've got. Tell everybody about your new book and where they can find you.
Okay. Best place is YouTube. My name, Barry Strohm. I just brought out a new book. It's called Jesus, the Missing Years. We channeled 24 Holy Spirits that walked the earth with Jesus throughout his life. And we tell the complete story of his life up until his ministries. From the time of his birth, or actually from before his birth, when Mary and Joseph find out that they have to leave Nazareth and they're going to have a baby and all these wonderful things are going to take place. We talk about his travels. We talk about his married life. We talk about it. We actually channel with his spirits of his children, of his wife. It's a very different approach to the life of Jesus. And when you take time to really understand it, it's just simply an amazing story. And it brings so much to your faith as you really find out the truth of his life. It's available on Amazon. We have it in hardcover, softcover, ebook, and audiobook there. My website is barrystrom.com. You can buy signed copies there. It is my 11th book, and all 11 of the books are available on my website and on Amazon. So there you go.
Well, thank you. There's more you can talk about the books, but we'll get you back on and do that.
Okay.
Talk about maybe the new book. That would be good. So it's always nice to have you guys come on, pay a visit. It's been a while. So don't be a stranger.
Okay.
And you're doing so many other shows. I don't want to tire you out, but we'll do it. All right.
When you're my age, a little more tired doesn't really bother you. It's you're tired all the time anyway.
I'll remember that. Okay, thanks. And thanks to everyone who's listening in. And until next time, everybody, blessed be and merry meet again. Good night.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Please join us again next week at the same time for another great guest and more cauldron stirring. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2024. The Mysterioso March by Kevin MacLeod is licensed through Incompetech.com.